and he'd received so many Japanese tourists over the time that he'd picked up a phrase or two, and it comes as a nice surprise.
I bet it does. Now, what sort of themes are you covering in the programme? I know you follow quite closely two families, don't you?
Yes, one family is living in Tokyo and the other is living out in the country in Kyushu. So they're two strikingly different families, and you'll get to know them very well during the series. And you'll follow one of the family members at work, at school, having a wonderful time out at the karaoke bar, and going shopping, all sorts of things that an ordinary person does.
Always difficult when you call them ordinary people. Always
Yes.
difficult being around cameras for normal families, isn't it?
Yes.
How did they cope with having you invade the privacy of their homes, really?
Well, I think they were a bit shocked at first because they'd never had a television crew in their homes, not let alone a foreign television crew. And at first they seemed very shy and were very polite. And it took some time to really, have them open up. But once that started, we got on really well.
We always think of the Japanese economy as being very, very dynamic. Is there actually any unemployment and poverty around?
Unemployment, poverty is very scarce compared to perhaps other countries, but we do have our problems. And we'll be touching upon that briefly in the last program in the series, which looks upon the future of Japan.
Now, you work hard, as we discovered in the clips there, but you also play very hard as well.
Yes.
What sort of leisure activities would the average young Japanese person get up to?
Well, tennis, golf is very popular, even though we don't have much land. Golf, also traveling, eating, and going to the disco, and things that perhaps a Western youngster would enjoy.
Now, life must vary tremendously between living in a big, bustling city
Yes.
like Tokyo. Is it a little bit like in this country, where London or possibly big cities like Glasgow and Edinburgh attract all the young people from the land, really?
Yes, and so the country villages are having a problem because all the young are leaving the villages and are wanting to go to Tokyo. So that's causing a bit of a problem. And the pace of life is very hectic, just as in all the other big cities.
Well, we wish you luck with the series. It begins, I know, on September the 14th at
Yes.
6 o'clock on BBC Two. And what
Thank
was
you.
that bit of Japanese you taught me?
Arigato, thank you.
Arigato.
どういたしまして My pleasure.
Oh, thank you very much, Yuka-san. This is Kabuki theatre. Popular in Japan since the 17th century, Kabuki is a combination of ka, song, bu, dance, and ki, gesture. The plays tell popular stories of love and adventure in a ritual of movements handed down over generations. In Kabuki, all roles are played by men. Matatsu Nakamura is one of Japan's leading performers. His appearance is highly stylized. The blue colouring in his makeup means he's a ghost, and the white background shows that he was a nobleman. Brilliant. Well, Ruta Noreka is a dance interpreter. First of all, why aren't there any women involved in Kabuki at all? Because there are women's roles, aren't there?
Oh, there are lots of women's roles. The reason there are no women is because originally, although there was a mixed cast, and the first performance of Kabuki was by a woman called Izumo no Kuni in Kyoto. And her dances were so popular and so broadly imitated by people who offered other services, women who offered more than just dance and song.
Ladies of the night.
Ladies of the night. That the government took a dim view of all this and decided to restrict it to first young men, but they got up to the same kinds of antics.
Oh dear.
So in the end, it was mature men.
So what story was Matatsu telling in that? Amazing costume and everything.
Right, in this you're seeing him playing the role of Tomomori, who is a general, the ghost of a general, who is rising out of the waves to take revenge on the general who defeated his forces. Tomomori himself jumped into the sea and committed suicide rather than suffering defeat. And the background to this is that Yoshitsune, the enemy general, has been exiled by his brother, the shogun, Yoritomo. Yoritomo sees Yoshitsune as a threat to his own power and wants to get him as far away as possible. So Yoshitsune is traveling down the inland sea, and at this point he's approached the scene of the very famous battle where Tomomori died, killed himself.
All right.
And you can imagine he has all sorts of complicated feelings as he's floating down in this boat, accompanied by his retainers, among whom is a warrior priest called Benkei. And the title of this piece is Funa Benkei, the Benkei in the boat. And just at this point, the ghost of Tomomori rises and tries to attack Yoshitsune. Yoshitsune goes to draw his sword, but Benkei pushes him back because ghosts, of course, are immune to swords.
Of course.
And instead, what Benkei does is he rubs his beads and says prayers, and as a result, eventually, the ghost is driven away.
This costume is absolutely amazing. Is that a very, very important part of Kabuki theatre?
It is an important part of Kabuki theatre, although there's a variety of costumes. In some of the plays, which are sort of everyday plays, you don't see this type of costume. You see people dressed much more plainly.
What about all that long hair? It's almost down to his feet, isn't it?
Well, this particular piece is also in the No theatre repertory. And the wig here is similar to that that's worn by ghosts and otherworldly creatures in the No plays. Normally, something this hairy represents either something evil or otherworldly, or an animal.
Matatsu actually comes from an acting family, doesn't he? Is that the usual way that things work?
That's
that you
right.
inherit a role?
Well, normally, children of Kabuki actors follow in their father's footsteps. And traditionally, they start their training at around 5. And it takes a long time to attain a name. Nakamura Matatsu is somewhat unusual in that he had already graduated from university when he joined the Kabuki world. But that's right, I mean, he is joined the Nakamura family.
Well, he's great. Well, thanks very much, Ruta. And you can actually see Matatsu Nakamura with the Japanese National Theatre in a Kabuki version of Hamlet at the Mermaid Theatre in London. That'll be from the 19th till the 28th of September, if you want to see that.